All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, so it's again one of my favorite days of the week. We're back for another episode of Tim and Tim Tuesdays at 10. Tim Vest, how you doing today, man? You got a
Not too.
little bit of a glow to you. I mean, normally I get the answer of I can't complain, but I feel like something else is coming this time.
Man, I don't even. I had something, I lost it. I don't even know what to say to that.
Can't complain.
All good. Yeah. Nobody. I think people are tired of hearing me complain, so it doesn't do any good anyway. So
Yeah, that's fair. No one really cares, so you can
yeah,
complain all you want.
yeah.
Um, So, all right, guys. So it is October 3rd. It's the beginning of Q4. What's up, BJ? It's the beginning of Q4. And I like to make, we like to look at how the year's going to end. And a lot of people ask us, they're like, Tim and Tim, how the hell do you guys do everything that you do? Well, we constantly talk about plans and goals and objectives. And we're always looking at what's on the plate, what could be on the plate. We're trying to line up deals that we're closing, deals that we're selling. And when you get to the end of the year, we also like to take a little bit of rest and relaxation. So I'd like to make a little point here of like, some people, they're like gung ho of like, oh, you can't take your foot off the gas. Like you gotta pile drive all through New Year's Eve, like, work hard forever. And I'm like, dude, like I get it. Like there's some value there, but there's also value in having an understanding of balancing a workload and stress levels and all that kind of stuff, because I'd rather be sharp and fresh and like energized than exhausted and drained and just kind of doing things because I have to do things. So, are you the type of person that is going to take your foot off the gas for the end of the year, or are you potentially the person that forgot to start the car? I hope not that end of the spectrum, but I'd like to make it a little drastic just for fun, right at the end of
Hey,
the
and guys, remember, right? I mean, we're talking about taking. Are you taking your foot off the gas? Like from a business perspective, how about you head into the end of the year with like, hey, I'm gonna like celebrate everything I accomplished over the last 11 months and do it with the people that mean the world to me.
day.
And like you're just putting your foot on the gas at a different space in your life, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Oh,
so
that's powerful, man. That's good. I think that that's
need to write that
underrated.
down.
Jot that down. We need one of those AI note takers for StreamYard.
Yeah, there we go.
AI
Get
note
that.
taker, Fathom. Jot that down.
Look for that on LinkedIn next week, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So yeah, so like what is everyone working on through the end of the year? So we got a couple different deals that we're working on and we're juggling a few things. We're selling a couple deals. We got a lot going on in the month of October. More importantly, I am super excited for next week. Tim, how do you feel about next week?
What's next? Oh, next week. Yeah.
Oh, look, Tim
Yeah.
forgot.
Now
So
dude, we got like 3 weeks of stuff coming up, and I've kind of
yeah.
forgotten which one comes first. But
Yeah.
yes, I am excited about next week.
So we started talking about Tim and Tim. How do you guys do so much stuff on a weekly, yearly, monthly basis? Right? Whatever. I screwed that up. The sequence of timelines there. But how do we do that so efficiently and so well? Well, we work our asses off, right? And one of the things that we continually try to get better at is hiring better people and growing our team in order to make us more efficient, more accurate, and less stressed. So, what did we do? We hired a consultant. We are working with a consultant, and we're going to Austin, Texas on Monday. So we will not be doing a show next Tuesday because we will be in class. We will be learning. So no show next Tuesday, but next Tuesday and Wednesday we'll be in Austin, Texas. We'll be learning about the Culture Index Survey, and it's kind of like the DISC profile, but it really helps you make sure you're putting the right people in the right seats in your business. It's less about like your personal life. It's definitely more focused about business. So that's what we're doing. We invested quite a bit of money into going to this event. We're bringing our regional manager Crystal with us because not only do we need to learn how to hire people that are going to help us grow and support the business and help support Crystal and do what she does on the leasing side of things of our management company. But Crystal also needs to know how to hire people to be her on-site property managers, her on-site maintenance guys, things like that. Right. So you can't, it's never a bad investment investing in yourself as well as your employees. And we're super excited about it. Not only do we get to spend a couple days with Crystal, we get to learn some things together. We get to learn and grow, and we do what we preach. Like we talk about it all the time. Hire a mentor or a coach or consultant or anything like that that you need in order to move your business forward. And this is what Tim and Tim are doing in order to do that. We practice what we preach. So we're super excited about it. And I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And man, I can't. So Tim and I have been talking about this one since we met this guy in Hawaii
The
at
end of
D and
June
yeah, at D and Vince's event,
took us 90
and
days.
yeah, but yeah, which is funny because we're literally going there because the guy he identified something that Tim and I are missing between the two of us in this partnership, which goes directly to it took us 90 days to get to this point. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So kind of need to get there.
Yep.
Um, but the truth is like, yeah, invest in yourself, right? Like I hope you guys realize, like I was literally in Cincy last week saying that on, people were like, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, dude, if never fail to invest in yourself, right? It pays off. And that's what we're talking about here. We've done mentors, we've done coaches, we've done this, that. And here we are like, hey, we started this business. We should be serious about it. We should be willing to invest in the business and whatever it takes to, to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Mhm.
So, we met this guy. He works with some guys that we trust quite a bit. Vince, thanks for the introduction. And I got to sit there and watch this particular guy Kerry work with Vince and another guy we know, Sean. I got to sit and watch him for like 2 hours one morning, just go through things with them. And I'm like, man, we need to engage with this guy. So man, I'm extremely excited to get out there and see what he comes up with, because the funny thing is like I'm literally paying some guy to tell me where I fall short, right? Like,
Ooh, yes. I can't wait to hire myself out of a job.
oh, but you know what? It's so huge, right? Like, I was literally on a walk with my wife this morning, and we were talking about like how people have a hard time taking that kind of feedback, right? It's like, I'm like, I personally, I don't get it. I'm like, you're literally telling me where I don't fit, right? Like where I need to supplement myself to be successful. I'm like, man, I love that feedback. That is literally what I want, right? Um, it's like when I played football and I wanted to be the fastest wide receiver on the field, and coach pulls me to the side and he's like, yeah, you're probably not going to be the fastest anybody on the field. So let's look at something else. Maybe let's try a different position.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's kind of what we're doing. We're looking for that feedback, right? Like where do my skill sets fit and how do we supplement them, right? By making the right hires. Because the last thing I want to do is go hire another me or Vitali here. I want to
Oh,
go
that
hire
doesn't
some.
work.
No, that's not
Right, I
going to
don't
help
need
at
another
all.
me around. I need somebody that does the things that I don't wanna be doing around.
No, in fact, I've been in partnerships where it's like two of me, and that's no fun for anybody.
Mm-mm.
So
Nope.
Vitali's like, no, that's really not.
No. No, no, no. Is this other guy's name Tim? No. It seems
We'll
to be
leave
a
him out
trend.
of it. We'll leave him out of it.
Um, well, so cool. So yeah, I mean, it's all good and fun, and we're really looking forward to going to Austin, Texas next week. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of talking about things that we're doing, and this doesn't necessarily correlate into how we're going to have a strong end of the year, but it does correlate to how we're going to grow for the next couple of years. So yeah, maybe the title is a little misleading around how we're just focusing on Q4 and Q1 of next year, and that's not untrue, right? But our primary focus right now is how do we invest in the people, processes, and systems in order to make us go from here to here, right? And we've done quite a bit of business this year, but I don't feel like I've made a ton of money because we've invested all of it into the
Yeah,
businesses, like
yeah,
literally all of it. We haven't paid ourselves anything this year except for maybe a couple management fees, from our coaching business. But other than that, it was like nothing. We've invested everything into this business because we're looking at it on a long-term basis and say, hey, like, these were part of our goals of what we wanted to grow and build this year. So now that we're here, we're doing what we said we wanted to do. We wrote it down, there we got the list. We wrote it down, right? So we see this all the time on my desk, and it was flipped to a different page because I was writing something. But we're here now, and we're like, okay, well, we're looking into the next 12, 24, 36 months. who's the person that we need to put in the right place in order to make sure that we can accomplish the things that we have on this list, right? All of that is vitally important, and it doesn't happen by just stumbling upon it. It's conversations like these that we're having in October that are going to solve our problems for next summer, right? It's always forward thinking. It's always thinking about the who's going to help us grow our business. What are the right people that we need to surround ourselves with in order to accomplish what we're looking at. So this is us practicing who, not how, right
Yeah.
there, right? That's us practicing who, not how. And, I'll say it, we're blessed, right, to be able to put ourselves in this situation right now, but it's not for lack of efforts, right? It has been a grind this whole time. We have bumped our knees and bruised and battered, and we've learned a ton along the way. But we constantly look at our goals and we make sure that we're staying on track with what we're trying to achieve, the big grand scheme of things, not the day to day transactional things. And that's also part of the thing that they identified about us, that are like, well, you still need to do these day to day transactional things. So we're working on it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And guys, like I think what Tim's talking about too is like making sure you're writing those things down because, when we started Vive, when we started the property management business, Tim and I had a lot of conversations of like what's the first hire, right? And
Mhm.
and in a perfect world, we would have just had this like huge nest egg of capital that we could have said, let's go hire it all, right? Like everything we need, let's get it right now. But we didn't, right? We had a very finite amount, and we said, hey, the first thing we need is a good regional, right? Like I know we need ops, I know we need all this other stuff, but this regional is like critical. So it's like get the regional, and then the other stuff like Tim's talking about, we can bump, we can bloody our elbows, bump our knees, we can do that through this other stuff. But now we're to the point, it's like, okay, I'm tired of bumping my knees, it's time to go hire this other guy to make it so that I don't have to do that anymore.
You
um
you know, with the aha moment that it was for me is like, because 'cause we've talked about it and we've said those words, but it didn't really sink in, and you don't get it until you get it, right? And there's a lot of that is for everything in the spectrum, whether it's personal life or business life. You can hear the words, but you don't get it until you get it. And, the aha moment it was for me is we were having a conversation with Crystal, and she was asking me about all these different operational things, and I literally said, "Crystal, pump the brakes. I am not the qualified individual to be answering these types of questions to you. We need to hire somebody else because I can't help you. I'm doing patchwork and I'm plugging holes where I can in order to keep the ship afloat. But if we're gonna, rebuild the hull, I need somebody down there that knows how to rebuild a hull." Right.
yeah.
And it was that aha moment. It was like, oh my God, yes, we need to hire somebody. And that was maybe 45 days ago or something like that. And I was just like, oh my God. But here we are today, right? We took action. We realized what we were faulting with. We took a look at our goals. We talked about what we wanted to achieve, and now we're taking action and doing it, right? And that's hopefully that's the big difference between us and most other people. And we hope that we can inspire you by talking about these experiences. That's the whole reason that we do this thing, is because we want to talk about where we're screwing up. We want to talk about what's difficult. We want to talk about our wins and our losses overall, but we also want to show you what it's like to be us, right, on the other side of the table of doing what we've been doing, because I know a lot of people want to do what we do. Hell, I've been on the other side of the table of like, one day I'll have this or one day I'll be able to do that. But this is real talk of like what goes on a day to day or a week to week or month to month basis of how we're facing hardship and what we're doing about it, and how we're taking action to fix it. And I don't think there's enough transparency in the social media world of everything that goes wrong and how you fix it. I think we talk about things that go wrong more than things that go right. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like,
I mean,
well,
Dennis Russell, I know you're on every show, man, and BJ Simpson and Tony Brown. I know you guys are here every time. I think you probably might agree with me that we're constantly talking about what we're screwing up and how we're fixing it, instead of, the rah-rah of, we closed another deal, we made money, we did this, we did that. Like, no, we're talking about real stuff.
yeah, but I think I wish I had the graphic with me. I was at that event last week, and I thought one of the presenters had a graphic that showed it really well. It was basically like a guy standing in front of different blocks, like, and the blocks were lined up like steps, and each block represented failure. It was like
Mhm.
fail, 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 fail,
Oh, that's good.
success, right? Like you fail your way to success. And honestly, guys, that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? Like and hopefully, like when Tim and I, align ourselves with mentors, our idea is like, well, let's reduce the number of failures it takes to get success, but you're not gonna remove it altogether. So,
Mm-mm.
and hopefully we can help you kind of by talking about it, we can help you remove some of those blocks as well, and you can take bigger steps towards success. But that's really what it is, right? It's like you gotta sometimes you just have to fail your way into a successful moment, and that's kind of what we're doing, right? It's like Tim said, we've had these aha moments where it's like, man, I'm tired of this happening. I've learned this along the way, and I'm tired of this happening. So now I know what I need to go get, right? And that's basically what you're talking about with that aha moments, right? It's like now I've had the aha moment of now I know who I need to go find. Like
Mhm.
I need somebody to solve this for me. And sometimes, guys, it just takes getting in there and getting bloodied a little bit to kind of have that moment, right?
The other side of it is you're 100% right, but it also has given me some level of appreciation
For
to
sure.
be able to do the work, right? Like I can say I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like to build this company. I know what it was like when we first started, when money was thin and like I'm looking at my bank account wondering how I'm going to pay the bills. Like, you hear those stories all the time and you're just like, I'm never going to go through that. Like, come on now. No, but it's real, man. I mean, it's constantly like, where are we getting money from? Who owes us this? Where do we have to pay money? We're moving things around. There's so much strategy to all of this, and it's not like any one strategy works, but you do have to kind of look at everything from a 10,000-foot view and focus on what's going to be the highest and best use of your time and money in any given situation.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
every
and
situation is going to be different.
yeah, and it's funny how sometimes it's not until you bring that person on, like a couple of weeks ago, right? When so we'd been outsourcing our accounting, and we were like finally like we're bringing that in house. We're going to bring our
Oh
accounting in house.
my God.
Hey,
Oh,
Folks, I think Vitali is the accounting side of this little duo here, and what was it like about a week ago, week and a half ago? I get this text message from him. He's like, "Man, I don't think I realized how much time I was spending on accounting." And
oh, dude, for sure. Like when we brought her in, it was not last Wednesday. She's been working for us for like 10 days now. And it was like the first and second day, she just came in, she started fixing things, and there was something wrong. And I was like, oh, this is how you fix it, right? And she goes, no, but this should be automated. Let me figure out why it's broke. And I was like, oh my God. I just got so used to just doing it because it had to be done instead of
right,
working on it to make sure it was fixed. And I was like, this is why we needed this person, because I know how to do it. I know how it should work, but I don't have the time, nor do I have the patience anymore to go
right,
through and find all these little tweaks and these efficiencies within our accounting system. Cause I'm like, I know what needs to happen. So just do this and then move on to the next thing. But no, if I have somebody that's dedicated to making sure that the system and the process is working as it should, it makes everybody's life easier. It's more systematic. It's cleaner. It's done the way that it should be done. And I took a step back and I was like, you know what? You're right. I have not been doing this the way it should have been done. I've been doing it to get it done, which is
right,
completely different. And
right,
I literally am sitting here messaging him. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I can't believe how much time I have been spending on this stuff. Like, because nobody appreciates what goes on in the back end, right? Like, if
yep.
you're not bringing in investors and bringing in deals, like, you're not making money. I'm like, whoa, there's so much that happens on the back end that nobody sees, that nobody really cares about, but has to happen. And
Oh,
it's just like, oh, it feels like I'm getting nothing done, but I am getting something done. It's vitally important to our business in order to continue to grow, but it doesn't bring in revenue. And then that's the thing is like, okay, I need to hire people that don't bring in revenue because we need to go out and buy more deals. We need to go raise more investor money. We need to build more relationships. And that's what Tim and Tim do. And we can employ a lot of people to help us and go through that vision. And everybody is the right person in the right seat. And that's when you have this beautiful machine with all the right cogs in the right place that really makes you something special.
yeah, man, I'm glad you said that because I spent a 23-year career being back office, being behind the scenes, right? Like, but you always, you always know like you're making things more efficient. You're creating, processes and systems that help the guys on the front side. And I spent 2 days last week. You would be shocked at how many people said, like why do you focus on operations so much? Why, boots on the ground, asset management? I'm like, I've seen more guys piss away a well negotiated deal by through poor operations. They'll walk into 1.5 million in equity and completely, squander it away because they don't know how to operate a property. And nothing loses you money faster than poor operations, in my opinion. um,
Mhm.
you know, not understanding where you are from accounting standpoint, you would be surprised how many people you could take a look at their accounting today and go, "You're out of money," and they'd go, "Really? I am." Well, not today, but you're going to be in about 30 days.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so accounting, being able to, manage, tenants and just the day to day operations, man, you can squander a good deal real fast by not having that stuff under control for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is this are we fast forwarding to December? Are we like going full bore into December here? I think I feel like we changed the topic a little bit, but hey, I
Yeah,
like
well,
this.
whatever.
Yeah.
All of it's relatable, right, to goals, and it's, putting people in the right spots, and ultimately that was our goal, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
reviewing our Q4 stuff. Where did we fall short? Where are we achieving? Where are we not? And what do we need to focus on in order to get there, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Christina, that goes for any business. You're completely right. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what business you are in, right? The vehicle that makes money is irrelevant. The people, the systems, and the processes to get there are all technically identical, right? In
Yeah.
one way, shape, or another.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're taking our man Sean Fuller, right, out there in
Yeah.
Alaska. Like he's great at that kind of stuff. He's been successful in multiple different, distinctly different businesses. And but it all comes, Christina, it all comes back to those systems and processes. Like he has a template in place that he can put over top of anything,
Mhm.
and solve for a good portion of the operations piece. So
Yep.
um,
So, all right. So that's us, like how what we're doing to take action today in order to kind of settle our goals for Q4 and really kind of push it out further and beyond that, right? So, Tim, why don't you talk about when we get to like December, when we do our year end kind of review and kind of forecasting for 2024, what's kind of your mindset when you're going into these things, and something that you would want other people to think about when you are building these goals that you want to achieve for the next year or even the next 90-day sprint?
yeah, so when I'm headed in December, I'm not looking at January and February really. I did that in September, to be honest with you. Like for instance, sitting here right now, Tim and I have already discussed December and January. We have some things going on in those months, and we've already kind of discussed like, this is what we're going to focus on. You're going to be here, I'm going to be there. So those are already done. When I'm going into December, I'm looking at like March, April, May, looking into Q2, Q3, and what do we need to do to accomplish our goals in those quarters. So that's kind of where I'm headed in December, especially as it comes towards acquisitions, right? Because one of the things that I don't think people realize, and I'm already talking to brokers about it now, because brokers are calling me saying, "Hey, well, you want to look at a deal?" And I'm like, if you're showing me anything right now that you want closed by the end of the year, I'm not looking at it. Like if you got something you want to try to take down in January, February, March, like let's talk about that now. Because these acquisitions guys, they take 90, 120 days plus to get done a lot of times, unless you're going in all cash. And even then I wouldn't say, buy it in 30 days, but that's just me.
And with the debt markets and insurance markets where they are today, everything is just taking longer.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, when I go into December, I'm always looking, 4 to 7 months out. Is at that point. So, that, and then I'm looking at, what are my goals, to your point, my 30, 60, 90, and then 6-month goals for 2024, as well as what are my overall goals in 2024, right? Like what are my high levels? What are my buckets that I'm trying to accomplish? So, that's kind of where I land in December. And then, one thing Tim and I do is we kind of sit down and we go, "Hey, over the last 11 months, what were some lessons learned that we want to remove? What are some things that we want to remove from our lives that were just noise or took energy that shouldn't have?
Yeah, also reflection,
Yeah,
reflection over the last, but like what sucked? Now that we're through it and we kind of look back at it and laugh at it, what really sucked when we were going
yeah.
through it? And how do we fix that so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, those are a big piece of, what we start to talk about in December. I think in December we'll probably also take a little bit even longer term view this year, because this is the first year that Tim and I aren't operating as separate entities. We're one entity under Vive, and so it's like, hey, what's the next 30, 60, 90? What's the next 12, 24, 36 look like, right?
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah, I think it's important you do the, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals, right? So
yeah,
like you don't get tunnel vision on what you're trying to achieve next year. You're still making sure you're working backwards from a 5 year goal, and then you're splitting it up into 90-day increments.
yeah,
We did this last year and it changed drastically. I mean, like literally
for
60
sure.
days after we did those goals, we're like, well, shit, none of this is going to be applicable now, and you have to pivot and adjust, or, it's like things change, but it's important. So it's important to have, okay, well, what do we want to accomplish over the next 5 years? Like, where do we see our long-term vision going? And what do we need to do over the next 12 months in order to achieve that 5 year goal? And I can, God honest, tell you, I guarantee you it's probably going to change along the way because things happen and change and grow as you continue to learn and grow, and people come and go in your life and business partners and deals and whatever, right? Like you never really know what you're going to get into. You have an idea of what you would like to achieve, but that doesn't mean that that's actually going to achieve. And as long as you're headed down that path, you're going to do okay, right? You're going to be
Yeah,
successful in maybe a different avenue that you weren't expecting, but you're still going to be successful because you were planning on it. You were looking for opportunity, and because you were looking for it, you saw it. Because there's opportunity everywhere all the time, but you have to just make sure that you're staying focused on what you classify as opportunity and what opportunities you want to take down in order to achieve your goals.
yeah, and it's also a good time, right, to sit back and talk about partnerships, right? Like, hey, listen, I know when we started this 2 years, whatever years ago, are we still on the same page, right? Like,
Mhm.
are you? I know things are changing in your life, things are changing in my life, or are we still on the same page for the next 24 to 36 months?
Mhm.
And there's not a right or wrong answer there, right? There's just answers. And you just need to make sure you are, because the when you don't want to find out that you're not on the same page is when you're in the middle of a deal. um
Yeah,
or
that's
you're
for sure.
or even worse, you've closed on it and you're 6 months, a year into it and things aren't going well. You better be on the same page
Yeah.
when that happens. So always a good time to have those, just check-in conversations, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Vitaly, you got a big life event coming up in December. How's
Christmas.
that impact? How's Christmas? How's that changing? How's that changing how your outlook on
Right.
the next 24 to 36 months, right?
Right.
Uh,
Totally.
yeah,
And I know that we talked a lot about, people that have, you know, it seems like a lot of stuff we talk about now is about people that have, are already finding some level of success and looking to learn and grow, but I also don't want to forget about the people that have not started yet. And, the kind of the in the post where I talking about where you forgot to start the car. Look, man, we started just like everybody else did at zero. And it took a while for me to kind of gain the confidence and the experience and kind of the mindset and have the mental change of I'm going to accomplish this now. So if you haven't started the car yet and you haven't started working on goals in order to close your first deal or even start to educate yourself, there's never a bad time to start. And if you had said, hey, this year I'm going to buy my first rental property or first apartment complex, and you haven't done it yet, and you haven't started it yet, haven't done anything yet, that's okay. Start now, start today, because the sooner you start, the sooner your clock starts. And if you wait 90 days and say, I'm going to start this next year, all you did is delay things for 90 days. Nothing changed. And really, you're not doing yourself any favors. So, um, if that's something, if that is you right now, like nobody's shaming you for it. It happens to everybody that like it has to be right. It has to be ready. You have to be ready to change in order to kind of go down this path because it's not going to be easy. once you start that process, it gets a whole lot easier because it's like muscle memory. But I just wanted to say, like, if you haven't started yet, like, don't shame yourself. Start today, educate yourself, start reading books. Like those mental things that start changing up here take time. I like to remind people it took me from the start, from my moment of I'm going to start doing real estate to the time I closed my first apartment complex was 3 years. So, if I had waited another year, then it would have still been 3 years. I just would have started a year later. So get started. Don't worry about what other people are doing, and don't judge yourself or compare yourself to other people on social media. Just start your path, write down your goals, make sure that what you're doing is achievable and that you're surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be like, right? Because you're going to be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, and hey, I know we're a little bit over. I just want to pull on that thread 1 second because Vitali's absolutely right, and I was reminded of it like last week. On the stage was Robert Allen, and guys, if you guys don't know who Robert Allen is, Robert's been doing this stuff
The
for a
apartment
long.
syndication guys, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's been doing this for a long time. Like he's got books that go back to like the 1980s, right? And I remember distinctly sitting. There were two guys I used to see on TV late at night. I remember seeing a commercial for his books, and I remember sitting there going, "I think I'm going to call and order that book," and I never did, right? And it was like 20 years later when I finally did something.
Hmm.
You
All
know,
you
I
did was
just
wait 20 years.
all I did was wait 20 years, right? Like what's the old statement is like, if you don't do it today, you'll just be one day older when you do. So
Hmm.
just do it today, guys.
Yeah.
Just take some action, take that first step. You'll be glad you did.
Well, you know what? I'm going out here on a limb here.
Sure.
I'm going to put this out for anybody that's still listening or watching the show, or even if you're watching it later.
Ooh.
If you're somebody that wanted to get started in real estate and you have not, Tim and I have a coaching program. If you take action by the end of October, we'll give you 50% off the entry fee because we want you to be successful. And we want you to start, right? Like there's got to be some kind of initiative and some kind of motive for you to get going in this thing. And it's not as hard as you think. You just have to have the time. You have to put in the work, and you got to be committed to being successful. So if that's something that can help you get started, reach out to either one of us, and we'll talk more about it. So, Tony Brown, to answer your question, the last 3 books that I've read were 10x is greater than 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan. The Wealthy Gardener, I can't remember who wrote that. And I can't remember. And the Ed Milet's The Power of One More were the last 3 books that I read.
Hey, Christine, I didn't know he was going to do that, but I'm all in favor of it. If it gets people moving, man, let's do it.
Right. I mean, because
That's
that little bit of inspiration there, like, again, if you reach out to us and you sign up by the end of October, we'll give you 50% off of our coaching group because we want you guys to get going now and prepare yourself for the next great buying opportunity that's going to be next year. Pro tip, there's always buying opportunities, but that's just what the media tells us now.
yeah. We're buying.
MMIMF.com, makingmovesinmultifamily.com, all abbreviated. So
All right, guys.
thanks. Peace.